At one point, Chris Brown's name was brought up, and it was mentioned in the context of Combs's defense team saying, you both would get jealous. And at one point, Diddy got jealous because you were dancing with Chris Brown at some sort of a nightclub or an event, and he took your phone, and he wanted to see what was in your phone. So this is one of many instances that we're hearing about jealousy. We've also heard from the prosecutors that Combs was incredibly jealous when Cassie at one point was dating Kid Cudi, when she was dating actor Michael B. Jordan. So, again, it's just another famous face that we're hearing about in the courtroom.
And I think people, when they hear that Chris Brown's name was brought up, expected it to go somewhere, but it kind of halted pretty quick and they moved on. Can you just kind of touch on that?
It was just a second. So there's so many headlines right now with celebrities being mentioned, from Michael B. Jordan to Britney Spears and now Chris Brown. But these are brief mentions. They're not really getting into really the nuts and bolts of it. And remember, these are celebrities. They went to huge parties. They were at nightclubs. They were at events together. So it's only natural that those are the names that are in their orbit. But again, some of these names are coming up to paint Combs as being a jealous boyfriend.
And there was a brief mention about a bipolar disorder, which Sean Combs has denied in the past. Kind of talk about how he's denied this, and wondering if maybe in the future of the trial, we might learn more about it.
So there's been a lot of discussion about drug use on both sides. There's been a lot of talk about their state of mind and their mental health. At one point, Cassie talked about having gone to a treatment center for 45 days to recover from trauma that she experienced in the relationship. At another time, they actually talked about Combs going to rehab, and they talk about a video of him being in nature and trying to get help. But something interesting came up was when Combs' defense team referenced his bipolar disorder, and that's really the first time that we're hearing that he might actually have a diagnosed clinical condition. We know that he has talked about his temper, his mood swings. I mean, that's how he got his nickname, right? Puffy, because he huffs and he puffs. But it's no laughing matter. We know that he's capable of incredibly terrifying violence. Just take a look at that 2016 security footage of Cassie being brutally beaten by him. And so, now we're learning that perhaps he might have been on medication. He sought treatment, and he may have bipolar disorder.
And there was a shocking recording played in the courtroom today. I don't know in the courtroom if there was a reaction, but kind of give the context to that and what the reaction was.
One of the things that the government keeps bringing up is that Cassie felt like she was being blackmailed by Combs, that he had videos of these drug-fueled sex parties known as freak-offs, and that he threatened to release those videos publicly, and that at one point he even showed them to people, and that this was to embarrass her, to silence her, and to force her to keep having freak-offs, that he hung it over her head. And in one shocking moment today, I was in the courtroom. They actually played audio of Cassie screaming at a man named Sujit. This was after she had learned that he might have actually seen one of those freak-off videos. But in that audio recording, that Cassie actually was the one who recorded herself talking to Sujit. In this recording, she is screaming at him, saying that she'll kill him, or that she'll have someone else take care of him and kill him. And it's a different side of Cassie that really none of us have ever heard before. I definitely don't think it's the last time that we're going to hear that audio recording. I think at some point we'll see the defense or even the prosecution circle back to that. The overall vibe today in the courtroom is that Combs' defense team is struggling. There's a lot of stopping and starting because the prosecutors are constantly objecting to the evidence that they're trying to admit. The judge is even getting frustrated at one point, saying that we need to set ground rules. He wants things to move more smoothly because at times the defense attorney who is leading this cross-examination, she appears to seem a bit scattered or maybe isn't well versed on the material. Again, there are a lot of lawyers on this team, and this particular attorney, she only recently joined the legal team, and this is a star witness. This is a big moment. There is a lot of material and years of text messages to go through, and it's not going very smoothly. Something that we've seen throughout this whole trial is that Combs is heavily involved with his defense. He's constantly putting his glasses on and looking at the monitor every time that exhibits are being put before the jury, and you also see him writing on Post-it notes, passing it to different attorneys, whispering to one of his attorneys, Brian Steele, who famously represented rapper Young Thug in his Atlanta RICO case. So again, Combs, he's intently listening. He's looking at the jurors, he's looking at Cassie, and you can tell